Thank you very, very much, and thank you all for joining us, for finding the time to share your experience with us. We just have 20 minutes for this conversation, so it will be, and I go straight to the point, and I would like to start with a corporation, with SAP, with Stephanie, and we know, and it has been, we have already spoken about that, Sapphire, your big event, Sapphire, now has been heavily impacted by the COVID. I don't want to enter into details about that, but we know that your event strategy changed a lot after that. Can you tell us a little bit more about how the SAP global event strategy changed based on the pandemic, and how it's evolving, and how do you see that moving towards the future?
Sure. So first thing we learned is we can't replace the human connection. That's absolutely clear, but we also learned that there is space for digital events, and so it's about, in the near future, marrying the two. We learned about the enormous amount of data we can collect online, and we are now figuring out how we're going to adapt all of these learnings to going back to in-person, because it's very important to start traveling and meeting again.
Is it the strategy that you have right now, is it evolving, or do you see this staying for some time?
It's evolving. There is a near future where, where we are right now with COVID still there, and we have to, work around that. And then there's a little bit further down the line where we will have to find the right balance between the different elements of in-person and online strategies.
So you're waiting to see how the overall situation is evolving?
We're waiting. We're building the plane as we're flying it, depending on how you want to look at it, yes.
But I think that flexibility is the key words these
Absolutely.
days, and the password for surviving these days. Thank you very much, Steph. Sven, talking about the venues, and you are representing or associating the largest and almost all the Palais de Congrès around the world that have been heavily impacted by the COVID. I heard that some of them find a new way or a new way of doing things. Can you tell us a little bit more about some experience? I heard about Miko in Milan or Excel London, that they reconverted in something different, supporting the pandemic. Can you tell a little bit about that?
Yes, of course. First, we had to shut down really fast. If you take the RAI, they had a boat show going on. On Monday, on Tuesday, had to close everything in the midst of the show. So that was a bit of a panic. But then indeed, venues across the world converted themselves, first to support local communities. So first they became care and hospital centers, then they evolved into testing center, and later on, and still to date, actually vaccination center. However, you can imagine if you have tens and thousands of square meters of space, and you can't use it for organized events, you need to find something different. And there we saw actually the creativity and the agility of the venues, which transformed themselves into film studios, into courthouses, into parliaments, into university aulas, just to make sure that the space was adequately used, and there was indeed a need for space. And space is something which we had in abundance. Now, going forward, and there I need to fully agree with what Stephanie was saying, venues will not go back to the pre-2019 situations. Venues will evolve into multi-channel platforms, and will offer the service which is needed by the organizer in function of the purpose. And that's the massive evolution we have gone through in the last 18 months.
Talking about this kind of evolution, do you see any difference region by region? Since in your association you have members that are coming from all over the world, do you see a difference between Asia and Europe and North America and the different regions of the world?
What we did see is a very different approach for reopening. So at a certain moment, the Americas were slowly reopening. China was already opening for months and months and had millions of visitors. Europe was lagging behind, and Southeast Asia, like Singapore, for example, to date is still closed. And there was always this very close link with the level of the pandemic. Right? And if you look at the situation now, it is still very unbalanced. Australia is still a closed country. Yep. Nothing is happening there. If you look at South America, there we're still in a very difficult situation. Africa, the same story there. If you look at the North Americas, United States, Europe, there indeed the situation is picking up again.
Thank you very much. And right now we spoke about the corporation, we spoke about the venue. Let's talk about the destination. And we know that Bruxelles is a hub for international association. And we know that international associations suffered a lot because events are the main revenue stream. So how can you tell us, Patrick, how Brussels supported the event, the association community during this time of crisis and suffer?
Yes, it's true that for Brussels, the association business is really key. We can summarize like this: if you want to be heard, say it in Brussels. That's why maybe we have the most headquarters for association in Brussels into the world. That means that we have really a key to play with them during this pandemic, because they are being hurt really hard. As you say, most of them win their money only with meetings. That means they have no possibility for it. Then since the beginning of the pandemic, we have put in place some fund which give them the possibility to ask us to pay the first deposit to the venue. That means that reduce their risk at minimum to try to organize the meeting. We also had the meeting to equip with the special hybrid system at the beginning of the COVID, that they can manage to deal with those meetings with that association. Like today, we see maybe today a good example, what can be the hybrid solution for this type of meeting. That's what we really want to help them. We also organize every year the European Association Summit. And we decided to make it in a virtual way, that those people can still speak each other, as also play their education balls into those meetings.
And I heard that your advisory board, that you have suggested or you are thinking about positioning Brussels as the European hub for hybrid events.
Yeah, I think that we have really to invest in this hybrid solution. I mean, Brussels is the capital of the EU. That means that the people still need to meet in Brussels, but not for the moment. It's difficult to attract people from other continents due to the restriction. That means that we want that those people continue to meet to each other. I mean, they want to meet physically, but it's not all the time possible. That we are continue this year to help the venue to equip with hybrid system to be really the capital of hybrid solution in terms of meetings.
That's great. Thank you so much. So I would like to bring quite a controversial element of discussion. So we have seen quite a lot that we move from physical exhibition to virtual exhibition. I would like to start with Stephanie, that since I know that SAP was attending quite a lot of virtual exhibition and of physical exhibition, and physical exhibition is a main part of even your big events. What is your point of view, and how do you see this, and how do you see the evolution of this?
I don't like them. I think we miss the essential piece, which is the human connection. People want to meet. People want to create relationships and maintain relationships. So I think there is room for digital events, but they will continue to evolve. The in-person component will come back. Probably, as Sven was saying earlier, probably not quite the same way as it used to be, but it has to come back. It cannot be only online. I don't believe it.
And since you mentioned Sven, do you see this as a possible threat for the venues, that they will be losing their revenue in some way, or how do you see?
I need to echo Stephanie. I haven't seen a virtual exhibition work, because you do miss the human aspect, which allows for trading and networking. You need that. So for that, we haven't found a digital solution yet. But digital will be complementary for other purposes, like dissemination of knowledge, where it works perfectly. Now, I've been visiting the RAI last week, which is the convention center in Amsterdam, and they had a big event, Money 2020, happening. And just to show how eager people are to get back together, they had a format where you have conference rooms, and you have catering space, and you have networking space. The conference rooms were empty, because simply people were fed up of content after 12 months. However, catering space and networking space, there was simply not enough. So overnight, they had to adapt the entire layout of what was happening at Money 2020. Right? So that shows the eagerness of people to get back together, to do trade, to do networking, because there is no digital alternative for it.
And talking about the venue of the future, I think that sustainability is something that is becoming more and more important. What is the vision for the venues in the future, Sven, in this sense about the sustainability matter?
Let me put it into one sentence, right? If a venue doesn't have a green plan, we will not attract event organizers. It's as simple as that, because they will not come. And we will not attract additional investments into our venue because it will not work without a green plan. So it's as simple as that. We're between a rock and a hard place, and it's a good place to be when it comes to sustainability. And we do believe as an industry we can become carbon zero by 2050, and we will make it to COP26 in Glasgow, and we will make the pledge to the global community that we can actually do this.
And I assume that for Brussels, sustainability is something that matters too, or do you have any example, or is it something that, an element that you are really, really looking into?
I think it's the center of everything right now. All the venue, all the hotel need to be sustainable when they want to attract people from all over the world. That means that we know we have the chance to have quite good European level or international level, and we are supporting the different venue hotel to be in those levels, to be sure that we can show that the sustainability which is developed in Brussels is real. That's not greenwashing, that's the real investment behind what is being done by the different venue and hotel in Brussels.
And for you, Stefan, in the corporation, how important is that, and how much is it just the top of the iceberg, or is it really something that SAP is looking in detail in all of the different elements of your marketing strategy?
More than just the marketing strategy, it's the company strategy. And really, SAP has put sustainable development at the heart of its strategy. So it's really, really important. I agree that we will not go to places that don't have a green plan. We will not work with vendors that don't know how to recycle the carpet we rent, or it's just, it has to be integrated into the plan from the beginning. It's just the right thing to do. We are at a turning point in the history of the industry, and not, as we write what the future is going to be, not having sustainability at the very heart of everything we do would be the biggest missed opportunity ever.
Thank you. So it has been interesting. Time is a killer, so I would like to end with one last question for the three of you. And I know that we don't have the crystal ball, but how do you see the future of our industry evolving? And I should start with Sven and then and you.
I think the future of our industry is bright and it's green. There we go.
That's great. Steph?
I will add that it's both online and in person. I think it will be very dynamic, and I think we have an opportunity as an industry to lead in terms of sustainability.
Your final word, Patrick?
I think our industry is a major role to play in the future. We know that the world is facing major crises. And if we want to facing those crises, we need to collaborate, to co-create together. And the best way to co-create is to meet physically. And I think our industry is really to try to make the best that the people continue to meet each other. Then I'm really positive for the future.
Thank you so much. So the outcome of this is the future of the business event industry is bright. It will be digital, it will be physical, and it will be green. Thank you so much for being with us, and we move on with the rest of the conference. Thank you.